YungBeef, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So today we have with us YungBeef, who works for Subsocial. YungBeef, welcome to the channel, and thank you for being here. Thank you for taking some of your time to come and answer some questions. And also want to congratulate you for securing a slot on the Kusama network. Welcome to the
Alex.
channel.
It's great to be here.
Awesome. Okay, I always like starting my interviews by giving the viewers a general idea of who's the person who is with us. So could you please give us some of your backstory of how you got involved in crypto and also like now in Subsocial?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I first got into crypto basically at the beginning of 2018, right after that big bull run. There wasn't really a whole lot going on with Ethereum at the time. I was getting involved with some stuff called proof of weak hands, which is basically a Ponzi scheme at the time, but it was fun.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I really made any money.
Mm-hmm.
And then I pretty much got out of it and then got back in earlier this year. And then in September, I think it was, I was looking for a new job. And I'd been getting involved with the Kusama ecosystem, Polkadot to some extent, but mainly Kusama. And I told some people I was looking for a job, and one of them, Allison Bob, he's a great guy. He's got a YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
He sent me a tweet from the Subsocial account that they were looking for a technical documentation writer, which I'm not qualified for at all. I don't even know how to code, but I messaged them anyways. So I started talking with Alex, who's the founder of Subsocial, and then one thing led to another, and now I'm the community manager and content lead. So I write all of our announcements, a lot of tweets, manage the community, all that sort of thing. And I've been with Subsocial for about 4 months now.
Nice. So you were involved with all this like mini bull run that we had like in August 2018, something like that, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I was really still in at that point.
Actually, it was in 2018, like that moment where Bitcoin went up to like 13K after the big dump, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're being involved with Subsocial for 4 months, and I'd like to know what are the thoughts for like the community in Subsocial. Like people that know how Polkadot and Kusama work, they really know how like what it means to get a slot on the Parachain. But I'd like to hear your thoughts on this. What it means for them and for you to securing a slot on the Kusama network. Yeah,
so about right the time we put out the first open the crowd loan, we put out an article, I think it was called why Subsocial is going for a parachain slot.
Mm-hmm.
And it basically outlined our full thoughts on that. I can send you the link. But the majority of the article was focused on possible integrations we could do with other parachain projects, just a couple that we could think of. And obviously there's going to be 50 plus parachain projects, and we don't even know what most of them are. So the list was, while it seemed like a pretty big list, I think in the grand scheme of things, it will end up being a small list a year or two down the road. But yeah, we'll be able to integrate with a lot of the other parachain projects, do really cool things like, we can bring stable coins over from Karura or Moonriver. We'll be able to integrate with Kilt for identity solutions, sort of get like a verification thing that's pretty important on social media.
Cool.
We can do, integrate with Zeitgeist, so we can have social features like comments and stuff on prediction markets, so people can discuss that there. There's all sorts of really cool things that we'll be able to do.
That's super cool. Okay, man. YungBeef, I like that name. Okay, so the other day I was watching a interview that Alice was on, and he said, Subsocial is not a network. Subsocial is a protocol for networking. I found that phrase like super interesting. But can you please give us expand on this concept and maybe tell us a little bit in a simplified way what is Subsocial?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been doing that a lot recently because we've realized that a lot of people don't get what it really is, which I think is partly our own fault because we have our blockchain network, but we also built a decentralized app on top of it. And they're both called Subsocial. So I think a lot of people, they just go to our web app and they see it's called Subsocial and they think that's what Subsocial is. So yeah, so I mean, it is a network in the sense that it's a blockchain network, but as far as social networks, yeah, it's a social networking platform, not a social network. So analogy I've used a lot recently for people that understand Polkadot and Kusama, with the concept of a relay chain and layer 0 and layer 1s, is you can kind of think of Subsocial as a relay chain for social networks. So Subsocial is the layer 0, and it's the underlying architecture. And then you build social networks on top of that. So Subsocial is not a competitor to Facebook or Twitter. Apps that are built on top of Subsocial will be competitors to Facebook and Twitter. So we have our own web app. It's usable, but I think ultimately it's probably more of a proof of concept. And we're planning to have some hackathons next year for other developers to come and build more apps on top of it. So those will be the social networks. The cool thing though is, Facebook and Twitter, their user bases are segregated. So if you build up a big following on Twitter, and you go to Facebook, you're not going to have a following at all, and all your content won't copy over and everything. But with Subsocial, because all of that's on the blockchain, basically, the different social networks, they're basically just different websites or mobile apps, but they're all connected to the same backend, which is the blockchain. So, if you're on one website and then someone builds another social network on top of Subsocial that you think has a better user interface or user experience, you just like using it more, you can switch to that and you'll still have all your followers, all your content, everything will still be there. So we can have this huge customizability in terms of user preference for having a bunch of different front ends to interact with the protocol with.
That's awesome because yes, what you say, people kind of misunderstand what Subsocial is. They think, and that, I'm also guilty of that. At the beginning, like a few months ago, I was thinking like, Subsocial is a social network where you can, do everything you do on Facebook and Twitter. But then I found that it is the protocol for other apps or dApps to create different social network experiences on top of the protocol. And you guys, what you did was like a showcase of what it could be, right?
Yeah, so our current web app's sort of a hybrid of Reddit and Medium. We've been doing some AMAs on there with other project members. It's pretty much like a Reddit style. So we'll like make a post and then people can ask questions in the comments and then the person will come and answer them. But in theory, you can make a website that looked and functioned exactly like Twitter, but it would be built on top of Subsocial.
That's a super interesting feature because what you say is like you got your following in this platform, and then if you want to move it to a different platform, that's impossible with the solutions we have right now. But with Subsocial, everything is on top of the blockchain. You can just, I don't want to have my following in Twitter now, so I want to go to Facebook and I get them all in Facebook, like just to make it a signal of how it will work. That's awesome. Okay, when we go and check out your website, we see like you guys have named some of the like top or core features for Subsocial, and they were serverless public timeline, roles and permissions, user governance, moderation, spaces as a DAO, and treasury. Would you give us a brief explanation of this, and what is your favorite feature?
I think my favorite would definitely have to be the spaces as DAOs. I'm very interested and bullish on DAOs as a concept. For those that don't know, basically a space on Subsocial is where all of your content will be. So you can think of a space as your Twitter profile or a subreddit on Reddit or a publication on Medium or a group on Facebook. They're pretty modular, so you can either have a space where you're the only one that could post. In that case, it would be more like a personal profile, like a Twitter page or something. Or you can have it where anyone can post in it. So then it would be more like a Facebook group or a subreddit. So the plan is we're going to have social tokens. And so spaces will be able to have their own social tokens. And then you can distribute those. And then whoever's the owner of the space will be able to essentially give up control of it and turn the space into a DAO where people can vote with the tokens. And then we're also, I think, planning to add treasuries for spaces that are DAOs. So it should be very cool for DAO integrations and some tools and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm super excited about the DAOs. You say this is a really cool concept where people just can collaborate and take decisions like all together. And yeah, that's a really disrupting idea that we have here today in blockchain. So I'm seeing this, and I think what you are building for DAOs, it could mean like a next level of DAOs. We know DAOs are like really big problems and they're trying to evolve, but I hope that you guys with this can, help that evolution of the DAOs. And yeah, that's pretty cool. And everyone can have a DAO pretty much. Like I could have a DAO with my people, with my community, and take decisions of like what they want to see in the channel, for example, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think a big problem right now is most DAOs just communicate with Discord, and there's not really like a good communication platform. Like they either have to use Twitter or Discord, and then they use Medium for their article posts or something like that. So we have this idea where you could have a DAO, and then you'd have like multiple spaces on Subsocial that would all be connected. So you could have like one space that's just used for making proposals, and then you could either discuss that in the comments on that proposal, or you could have another space that's proposal discussion, and then a whole nother space that's just sort of general talking. So it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, that's exciting. DAOs definitely are like a big deal. People kind of misread them, or they don't pay enough attention to DAOs, but they're like the core of what we're building with blockchain and everything that is going on. Yeah. Okay, now, so let's try to give the viewers a brief, like an understanding of how the monetization will work. Because, I mean, it's hard to say now, but like understanding your vision of the ways how people could monetize content in Subsocial will also give us a broader idea of the possibilities that you have seen. So can you please touch on some of the monetization features?
Yeah, so we have this term we call social finance. Sort of a mix of decentralized finance and social networking. SoFi for short. So probably the easiest one is we're going to integrate tipping, which I think we already have it completely done on the blockchain level. We're just trying to figure out how to implement it on the web app in terms of user interface and all that. Because it's basically just a transfer, which we can already do. But if you get tipped, you'd probably want to know what you got tipped for. So we're having like an event on the blockchain that will have some context, so you'll be able to go see that. And then we're also looking at adding subscriptions, sort of like a Patreon Substack model, and maybe pay-per-view, which I think we'll have to, for both of those, we'll have to figure out how to handle private content on the blockchain. And then, things like social tokens obviously are very big these days. So it's sort of this integration of money with social networks, which a lot of people are kind of not a big fan of at first. We always mention, though, like when Facebook first came out, nobody wanted to put pictures of their kids on the internet or anything. And now people just do it all the time, like it's no big deal. So, and I mean, money's not exactly the same thing, but I mean, obviously you can have separate accounts and there's like privacy tools. So you don't have to have your entire net worth in the account that you're posting on Subsocial with. But yeah, sort of that concept of open finance and really integrating it with social networks. So I think we'll see sort of a micro tipping economy emerge. Like when I was first learning about Subsocial, I was like, I can just make jokes on Twitter and maybe someone will tip me. It's like, well, they can't really do that on Twitter.
Yeah.
So might get to the point where people can just send small tips to people all over the time. So if you're making good quality content, it'll be easy to monetize it. And probably the most important thing is there's no middleman here. So I think like YouTube takes like 45% of the ad revenue, which is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's no middleman. So basically the creators capture the full value of their work. So it'll make it a lot easier to be a creator.
Yeah, that's the beauty of blockchain and decentralization. Like when I was trying to explain my family and friends what it means to don't have a third party in the equation, I was like, think you're an artist, you're a music artist, and you are on Spotify. You create your songs and you do all your stuff there, but then people pay you, and then Spotify takes 45% or 50%. I don't know how much they take, but then not having a third party, that means that all the money goes for you. So that's the beauty of blockchain and decentralization. I also see in your website, like you could rent or sell your posts as an NFT. Would you post something about that?
I think that's still more of a concept at this point, but I think the way it will work is we'll basically make it where everything on Subsocial is an NFT. So if you post something, it just automatically gets minted. So your post would all be NFTs, comments, all that. So that would make it where you could sell something, because like Medium, if you post something on there, it's kind of a gray area about who owns that, since you wrote it but you put it on their platform, and they probably have some legal mumbo jumbo that they now own it because you put it on their platform. So on Subsocial, you own it, like everyone can see it on the blockchain. You have the private key. So it really lets you own your content and your posts like that. So then that means you can sell it, or I'm not really sure how the renting out would work.
Yes.
But that's a cool idea.
Yes, I think when I think about that, when I saw this, I was like, hey, maybe I'm a great writer, right? And I write technical documentation for projects, but I'm not part of the team. So what if I just jump on the white paper and read everything they have, and I just write a very detailed document of like how they work, and I also make it probably in Spanish. So I do that, and then I post it on my Subsocial space, and if the team sees it and they need it, they can hey, I'm gonna give you some money to be able to use it on my documents, on my space. So that's how I kind of saw that, and I think it's pretty cool. It's pretty interesting because you won't be part of the team, but you'll be generating revenue for working and be like immersed in the community.
Yeah, I think it'll be really cool for like some types of blogs where they sort of aggregate a bunch of information. Like the best one that comes to mind would be if you're trying to find some cooking recipe and you go to some blog and they got a bunch of these different recipes, well, you could just have a space on Subsocial that like curates really good recipes. And so if you're just a good cook but you don't want to market or any of that, then you just make your recipe and then basically rent the recipe to them for them to put on their post, and then it's a win-win-win for all three parties involved.
Nice. Yes. Okay, you just told us that Subsocial will have like those social tokens, but the native token will be the Subsocial token. Would you please expand on the uses for this token?
The Subsocial token or this? Okay.
No, the Subsocial token, the native.
So the main utility is transaction fees. being on a blockchain. You have to pay for transaction fees,
Mm-hmm.
which is a big holdup for a lot of people because they're used to quote unquote free social networks. Not really free, but
Not really free.
so we are looking into some solutions to help with that. Like maybe you'll be able to stake some Subsocial tokens and get a certain number of free transactions every day. Or we might do some off-chain posting thing, kind of like Snapshot does, or something where we'll do it off-chain and then batch a bunch of stuff together into one transaction to make it way cheaper. Because obviously not having to use tokens would be fantastic, but then you run the risk of someone just being able to spam the network and break the whole thing, basically. So it's a fine line there. You'll also be able to stake. We run on proof of stake, just like Kusama. So you'll be able to stake and get more Subsocial tokens that way. Tipping, obviously, the monetization, stuff like that. We'll probably make it where you can use other tokens from other networks that we'll be able to connect to as a parachain. And then social tokens, we may do it where you'll have to lock up some Subsocial tokens if you want to. Like for someone else's, you could just buy it. But like if I wanted to make my own token, then I would have to deposit some sub, either for a certain period of time or indefinitely.
As a way to back up the new token that you're creating.
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
I mean, obviously you could just mint it out of nowhere, but if we can have the opportunity to lock up sub, then we might as well. It's good tokenomics there.
That will be really, really good for the tokenomics of Subsocial as a token, because you're just taking out a bunch of tokens in circulation just to back up what people and creators are just doing, like all these new tokens that are running on top of Subsocial will be back up for the actual Subsocial token. That'll be really good for the tokenomics. I think if I might say, I'm pretty sure you guys are working pretty hard on getting the tokenomics on top of everything.
Yeah, and I think another advantage too would be if you're making your own social token and you have to put up some backing, then it sort of establishes like a floor price for that token. So then that would help the price of your token.
Oh, that's a good idea. Well, now let's talk a little bit about the current state of Subsocial. Where are you guys on the roadmap and what's coming next, like in the near future?
Yeah, so we just won a Parachain slot 2 days ago, Saturday night.
Yeah.
We're going to be putting out an article hopefully this week that will sort of outline what the future looks like, kind of like a launch roadmap. Our Parachain goes live on January 8th when lease period 18 starts. That will be alongside the other 4 projects that win this round as well. So it'll be sort of a list of steps between going live on January 8th and when everything will be fully operational and all of that. So things like distributing tokens, setting up the on-chain governance, removing the super user key, all of that. So that should be out this week.
Okay. Awesome. So many things on the roadmap in the next few days, because it's January 8th, so pretty much like a month. You guys have a lot of work to do.
Yeah, the backlog seems to grow faster than we can get through it. So
yeah, you probably need to work a lot to keep up with everything. Wow, you guys, how many hours are you guys working a day? Probably not.
I mean, I don't work a whole lot, but I'm not a dev, so I don't know how much they're all working. Alex, our founder, I think he pretty much works all day.
24/7, pretty much.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
It's pretty ridiculous.
Okay, because we already said, okay, Subsocial is now the social network, but you have one. Are you planning on growing this social network as a showcase will we have a app for that, like a mobile app?
Yeah, we have one that's in development. I believe if you have an Android, we have the beta file for it. You can get in our Telegram chat if you want to experiment. At first we made a read-only version. It was just called .sama News, which we never got into any of the app stores, but we had the Android file if you wanted it. So
yeah,
it's just a good place to stay up with a lot of the projects posting on Subsocial.
Yes, but you wouldn't be able to react or do something, right? Because you have to like sign the transaction.
Yeah, so I believe the current beta that's out, it is read and write, so you can import your account or make a new one. And it manages your private keys for you. So a big advantage right now with the way things are on desktop, anytime you do anything, the Polkadot.js window pops up and you have to sign the transaction, which can get pretty annoying. So with the mobile app, since it's basically all built in, we'll be able to have it where you can make a setting like allow me to spend X amount of Subsocial tokens per 24 hours without me having to sign anything. So then it'll basically just be like Twitter, where you can just use it and you wouldn't even know.
That's super interesting. And I want to circle back a little bit, just for a second, on what you shared with us when you said people is used to be on social media for free. And that's a big step, or that's like a barrier for newcomers, because when they see us, you have to sign every transaction, you have to pay for them. So this is crazy, because people think that the normal social network is free, but no, you are the product. They're just feeding you everything they want, and you become a product of the social network. But here, because you're paying for, even if it's just little tiny tips, you're paying for it, so gonna be fed with everything they want, and it's gonna be more like your content is valuable and you get what you really want. Can you please talk a little bit about this concept of social network free, and on the other hand, Subsocial?
Yeah, I do think it'll take a little while to catch on. Might not really be the right word. But yeah, it's definitely a hurdle. And getting things like free transactions and a bunch of different monetization features added, that will definitely go a long way. And we're also planning to somehow integrate smart contract support, so we can get boatloads of different monetization features with all that. So yeah, I mean, you have to spend tokens, but if we can get a good system where you can just stake and get some free transactions, then it's more of just an upfront cost instead of a constant cost. And then if you factor in that there's all these different ways to monetize using the network, that right there can sort of break even. And then some other factors too, probably one of the biggest complaints with Web 2 social networks is first the algorithm, and second is them selling your data. So with Subsocial being on a blockchain, we don't really have privacy per se at the moment, because all the data is sort of open. But there are lots of other projects that are working on users being able to own their data and then monetize that themselves, instead of giving Facebook all our data and they sell it and we don't make anything off of it. So being able to use a platform, create data yourself, and then sell it, that's another revenue stream. And in terms of the algorithm, we have an idea to implement a algorithm marketplace. So on Facebook or Twitter, they have an algorithm that's designed to get you to spend as much time as possible on there, mess with your emotions to get you inflamed, whatever. So I go on Twitter and I see the trending stuff on the side, and every now and then there's one about someone getting shot, and I'm like, I don't want to see this at all. It does nothing for me. It just, so with the algorithm marketplace on Subsocial, open up to free market of developers basically for who can make the best algorithm. So if I want to use the Sunshine and Daisies algorithm and only see trending stories about cute puppies, then I can pick that one and use it. And I would assume there'd have to be some sort of monetization for the developers of those as well. But I think it will be much healthier and a much better system than the current one for sure.
Yes, 100%. This is why blockchain is here. This is what Subsocial is here, to change that, to switch it to the way how it should be. So yeah, thank you for that. And now, just to wrap up the conversation, do you have anything that you think is important to say and we didn't touch on?
We are hiring, especially for Rust devs. You can go to subsocial.network/jobs. There's a form you can fill out. It's probably the most important thing. We definitely need more devs.
Okay. How many people are you guys looking to bring aboard?
Probably as many as we can find.
That's cool. That's super cool. Okay. So, YungBeef, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for giving me the opportunity to come on.
Yeah. Okay. See you on Twitter.
All right. See you around.
Yeah. Bye.